Today, the world has about 800 crore people, meaning 8 billion people. And with the penetration of smartphones, we have on average a single smartphone per person. And with this data, we are seeing that the penetration of smartphones are increasing. And now we have all the world in our fingertips in the form of mobile, in the form of information that we access. But wait here, there is a important concern that needs to be highlighted here. And why I am trying to highlight this context, it is actually because the incident of mobile phone blast is increasing day by day. We have lots of news that covers the mobile phone blast. And actually, a recent example that I am trying to quote you, try to understand that. A person who basically resides in the Pune district of Maharashtra actually put their mobile phone in the charging mode in the night, but actually their mobile phone blasted, and the explosion was so huge that it damaged not only their glass window but also their car which was parked in the street. So now you were thinking that how it can damage the car, how such huge explosion can happen from a mobile phone which is very less in size. So well, you know about the lithium ion battery. They are compactly packed into the mobile phone, and when there is a overheating issue, that can catch fire in the battery and that will lead to explosion. So similar incident was occurred here also, but here there was multiple factors which was responsible for such a huge explosion. And what was the catalyst that promoted the huge explosion? It is actually a perfume box was kept aside the mobile phone. Okay, and when the fire broke in the mobile, actually the perfume, which you know that they consist of flammable substances, okay, flammable gases. So that gas catched the fire so easily, and that lead to the blast of the perfume box. So that's why the explosion was so huge. Okay, so this is the issue of overheating coming from the mobile phones. That's why there is a bigger advice that do not put your mobile phone while you are sleeping or during the night, because that leads to ignorance of the consciousness regarding the mobile phone, whether it is charging, what is going to happen during the night. So these all gets ended. So that's why please be sure that you should put your mobile phone in charge, and you should aware of that. That is a very important point, because by following these you can prevent the risks. And also, this is one incident. Take the example of other incidents that we are focusing on the news article. Like this is the Nasik mobile blast, and recently on 25th of April 2023, you can see that Kerala 8-year-old girl dies after mobile phone explodes in the hand. Okay, along with you can see the various incident of mobile phone explosion, mobile blast. Okay, so these are the incident that highlight that these concerns should be raised, and who will be responsible. By the way, the responsibility should be in the hand of various stakeholder. You may also be responsible, the company may also be responsible, the regulatory body may also be responsible. Okay, so from your side there is a need that if you are charging your mobile phone, please be aware that you charge not to the over capacity. Okay, or do not charge your mobile phone during the night while you are sleeping. And please keep your mobile phone away from yourself while charging. Okay, and also you should know that if there is a heating issue or burning issue coming from your mobile phone, be alert. So that is the point, and via this you can take care from your side. And if there is a fault of manufacturer, then definitely the manufacturer should be kept responsible, accountable to that. So that is the point I highlighted some of the basic concerns. Now we are shifting to the editorial discussion, and today is 23rd of October, and we are going to discuss the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. Before starting our discussion, if you haven't subscribed our YouTube channel, please do subscribe, like, share, and comment. Okay, and try to share within your friend circle so that your friend should also get benefited from our discussion. And in the coming time, we are trying to bring some of the various initiatives that will help you to cater the prelims need as well as the mains need. Okay, and for that we have the discussion of various the Hindu articles along with the questions of the previous year paper from the prelims, from the mains as well. So here you will be getting lots of material along with discussion that will help you in your preparation in a good and efficient way. So please do join us and do subscribe us. Okay, so now we are shifting to the article of discussion, and today we have about 7 articles to discuss. Okay, first of all, we will be discussing about the ecological health of the Himalayas. Now when we talk about the Himalayas, you know that Himalayas is ecologically sensitive zone. And when we talk about ecologically sensitive zone, so here we have the incidents of landslides, we have the incidents of seismic activity like earthquake, we have the incident of the soil erosion in a frequent way, we have the slope. Okay, because Himalayas are basically mountains, they have slopy areas. So the settlements, whether it is urban settlement or the rural settlement, have different orientations. Okay, and this all are going to affect the Himalayan biodiversity, the Himalayan ecosystem. The intrusion of men into these regions, okay, they are affecting the carrying capacity of the Himalayan region. So how they are affecting the carrying capacity and what is carrying capacity, we all are going to discuss. And now the second article will be related to the massive intelligence failure in Israel. Now you have known the context that Hamas when attacked the Israel via firing rockets of 5,000 and more, actually they did a lot of big mistake, and in retaliation the Israel is basically taking control over the Hamas. They are fighting with the Hamas and they are making ground intrusions into the Gaza Strip, that is the region of Hamas. Okay, so basically how the intelligence failed, basically why Israel was not able to capture the intelligence, the information, and because of that the war do occurred, and the loss of civilians actually did happen. Okay, so how India can learn a lesson from this, you can also understand. And the next article will be related to the Gaganyaan mission, and then we have the series of articles like the cyclone which is getting developed in the Arabian Sea and that will hit Yemen coast. Okay, and so how cyclones are formed, basically they are a low pressure region, and when there is a intense rise in the temperature of the ocean, okay, in a certain concentrated region, so that gives rise to the formation of cyclone. And remember, cyclone only do exist in the sea and the oceans, not in the rivers, lake or pond. Okay, and not on the land in simple manner. So this is the type of question UPSC do ask. So we will be discussing all these aspects and the angles. Now we are shifting to the rapid revision for the prelim series, and in the rapid revision series we are going to discuss about the prelims previous year question. So you have to solve the question by pausing the video, and we will be providing you the answers with detailed explanation in the last session of our discussion. The question is, which of the following statement best reflects the chief purpose of the constitution of the country? So here you are going to answer about the chief purpose of the constitution, why a constitution is basically created, why Indian constitution has been created, what is the best statement which reflects. Maybe some of the statements are looking to be correct, more than one option, but you have to choose the best one. Okay, so option A is it determines the objective for making of a necessary laws. Option B, it enables the creation of political offices and a government. Option C, it defines and limits the power of government. And option D, it secures social justice, social equality, and social security. Okay, and while answering the question, don't look only at the angle of India's constitution. Try to look elaborately with respect to the global constitution, what they try to promote. Okay, what is their main objective to frame the constitution? Okay, so that is the point you need to understand. Now we are shifting to the article discussion, and the first article will be related to GS paper 3, and you can link with this topic. So basically you are seeing lots of environmental devastation in the Himalayan region, especially we have seen in the Sikkim region, okay, or the Himachal region or the Uttarakhand region. So what does this indicate? Okay, does it indicate that these all devastations are due to the man-made factor, okay, or due to the natural factor? Basically a study says it is actually because of the man-made factor. So what is the man-made factor responsible? Actually the investments, the infrastructures we are building here, actually they are damaging the ecological angle of the Himalayan region. Okay, why? Because of the carrying capacity. So you have to understand about carrying capacity. To understand it, let us take an example. Suppose you have ate something, okay, so after that your mood to eat something more will not be there because your stomach is full. So your stomach has a eating capacity, okay, beyond that you will not be able to eat, and if you will try to eat, actually it will damage your health. Okay, so that is the context you can apply here. Similarly, when we talk about an environment or an ecosystem, they have a carrying capacity. Carrying capacity means how much maximum population they can basically support over a specific period without causing significant degradation or harm to its natural resource and overall health. If the population is more than the carrying capacity, there will be more burden on the ecosystem, and that can damage the biodiversity, that can damage the natural resource, and that can ultimately damage the population as well. So that is the need to have a carrying capacity analysis. So in the Himalayan region, the carrying capacity of this region are different from the carrying capacity of the plains region or the South Indian region. Okay, because Himalayan region are sensitively prone region, and we have lots of landslide, earthquake, seismic activity, and because of this the carrying capacity is limited here. So that's why we need to have a proper analysis of the carrying capacity. That is the point to be highlighted here. Okay, and how does it helps? Basically it helps in understanding the balance between the human activities and the preservation of the natural ecosystem, okay, to ensure the long-term sustainability. And that's why massive infrastructure cannot be done here. Okay, massive project cannot be established here because we have the limitations. If we try to do more infrastructure activity in the project, then there may be a scenario that the land subsidence may occur, okay, the dam failure may occur. So these all are the examples. So hope you understood the carrying capacity. And now, because of the recent incident, Supreme Court directed the union government as well as the various state government to assess the carrying capacity of the Himalayan region, so that we can identify how much the carrying capacity of the region has, and based on that we can promote the infrastructure or we can limit the infrastructure development. Okay, so that is the point. If you are able to understand the weakness or the limitations, then you can solve the problem in a correct manner. So that is the point you can understand about it. And for that, union government in its response stated that they are going to constitute a committee, okay, under the director of GB Pant National Institute of Himalayan Environment, and this institute actually will be leading in assessing the carrying capacity. And to help this institute, there are series of technical groups who will be assisting this institute, and they all will be the members. And here the disaster management section of the state will also be helping here. Okay, so this is the point. And it is not that the union government hasn't taken initiatives to assess the carrying capacity or to limit the exploitation of this region. Like we have the initiatives by the union government regarding the overall development in the Indian Himalayan region. Like we have National Mission for Sustaining the Himalayan Ecosystem 2010, the Indian Himalayas Climate Adaptation Program, the Secure Himalayas Project, and the recent guidelines on the carrying capacity in the Indian Himalayan region, which was circulated on January 30, 2020. Okay, so basically for the prelims, and also if in the mains there is a question on the Himalayan ecosystem, how to preserve it, try to mention all these initiatives, because this will help you in fetching good marks. Okay, so project Secure Himalaya is also very important for the prelims. Okay, along with the national mission for sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem, all is talking about that how can make our Indian Himalayan region sustainable, so that it can prevent the disasters of the coming future because of the man-made factor. So that is the point. And now there is a issues with the guideline. The guideline was issued in 2020, but when we try to analyze whether the guidelines and the analysis of carrying capacity which was talked in these guidelines were followed by the state or not, so basically it was not followed by the state. In fact, how much state has analyzed their carrying capacity, there is not an answer. So to deal with that, there is a need that court should interfere here. Okay, court should direct these states to analyze their carrying capacity. Okay, so despite the past initiatives, especially since the January 2020 guideline, hardly any progress has been made to analyze the carrying capacity. So the union government in a recent statement, they talked about if you didn't provided the carrying capacity measurement, then please do make an action plan regarding your state, regarding your Himalayan region. Okay, how you are going to tackle all of these the challenges that we are seeing. So all of that. So why the state are basically not focusing on analyzing the carrying capacity despite these problems has a long history. So there are mainly two regions provided here. First of all, the same set of people responsible for creating the havoc in the Indian Himalayan region will be finding the solution. Okay, so you are like the culprit is trying to find the solution. This should not be there. Okay, and the second is the process should be people centric. Here the people are well aware of the problems, why these type of incidents are occurring. Okay, they are more sensitive to the environment, so there should be a necessity that any committee or any stakeholder meeting should have a contribution of the people or the representation of the people. Okay, for example, the committee at least one third 33% should include adequate citizen representation from panchayats and other urban local bodies. and also the technical group which we have talked earlier, okay, should be equal partners in the policy making. They should be on equal footing. That is the point. And also the carrying capacity should also make sure that they can analyze the sustainable population, which can help in limiting the disasters in the Indian Himalayan region. Okay, and the court should also direct the government to have comprehensive assessment. Comprehensive assessment means you have to analyze the carrying capacity in different angles, like how the carrying capacity will be ensuring the biological species to be protected, the food, habitat, water, including the ecology and agriculture of the Indian Himalayan region. Okay, and the emphasis should be on the sustainable population of the Himalayan state. And at last, there is a necessity that the voice of the local people should also be heard. Otherwise, you are seeing that despite the local people in the Sikkim and the Himachal, they talked to not promote huge infrastructure projects, okay, but the government didn't hear them, and we are seeing the disaster. Okay, and there is a need to have an engagement with the people and build sustainable solution. Here we need to follow the people centric approach. Okay, bottom to top approach, not the top to bottom approach. Okay, this will be then the win-win situation. Okay, for the environment and for the people which are residing here, because in the coming times there may be a chances that infrastructure may getting increased, tourism may be getting promoted in a vast level. So we need to have a fast analysis of the carrying capacity in a comprehensive manner that takes care of the environment, that takes care of the people, that takes care of other stakeholders. So that is the summary of this article. Now we are shifting to the second article. Hope you understood it in great detail. So the second article is related to the GS paper 2, and it is related to the Hamas Israel war which are going on. And ultimately here we will be discussing that why actually the intelligence failure was seen in Israel, despite they have modern technology, sensors and everything. But again, why the intelligence failed? So that is the point. So we have in the recent times about 13 to 14 days have spent, but the war which was started between Israel and Hamas is not ending. Okay, you are seeing that even Israel is entering into the Gaza Strip via armed forces, and they are trying to control over the Hamas. They are trying to remove Hamas from the region. Okay, so this is another scenario we will be going to discuss in different article, but here we are limited our discussion that how the intelligence failed in Israel. Okay, the war, the rocket strikes may have stopped by the Israel if proper intelligence was there, but there was not that case, and that's why series of rocket which was fired from the Gaza Strip to Israel, and there was loss of life to many civilians. Okay, so this is not only in the case of Israel. Actually, at the global level, there are the instance that even the developed country to have faced intelligence failure, and we can have an example like 9/11. Okay, the US attack, and we have in India like 26/11 attack, and this recent incident October 7, 2023 attack. So these all signifies the horror of terrorism, and this also highlights our weakness of intelligence. Okay, so why the intelligence failure? Actually, for intelligence information there is a need of certain points to be understood. First of all, if you want to gather intelligence, then there may be a presence of the spies in your enemy country that can provide information of the activities of the terrorists or the enemy stuffs. Okay, So in Israel, that was not the case. Israel does not seem to have had human spies penetrating the Hamas. That's why information disclosure from the Gaza was not received to Israel defense system, first of all. And the second is the electronic sensors and the surveillance system along the border did not work. Maybe due to the communication manipulation by the Hamas, the information didn't received by the intelligent sensors of the Israel, and along with high order of communication security practiced by the Hamas. Okay, while communicating the information, discussing about the issue, maybe the communication security or the encryption was huge tight, that no leakage was there, and the Israel was not able to intercept. That is the point. Okay, so basically it is not only the first time in the case of Israel as well that Israel faced intelligence failure. Like in 1973, when there was Yom Kippur festival, remember this for the prelims, okay? And in this year, basically Syria and Egypt, they attacked Israel, and in this attack as well, Israel was not sure that the attack is going to happen, but ultimately the attack was there and Israel faced huge damage. Okay, and Israel was thinking at that time that these nations do not have the air capability so much, so they are not going to attack. But their confirmation biasness got wrong. Here you have to understand about the confirmation biasness. It is also related to the ethical concept, and you can relate this example with your ethics paper as well. There is no problem. Okay, so when we talk about conformity biasness, it means any thinking about any topic, about any event. Okay, let's say you're thinking about the impact of this Israel Palestine war at the global level. Maybe it can cause World War 3. There is a point you are analyzing. Okay, so you are generating enough points and the evidence that will showcase your mind that yes, these all are evidence that are showcasing that World War 3 is going to occur, and that will be because of the Israel Palestine dispute. But maybe in the future, in the coming 2 to 3 days, the war gets ended. So your thinking basically ended here. Why? Because the war ended, so World War 3 probability based on this ground ended here. So here you were in the phase of conformity biasness, that you do have the confirmation based on your evidence and the analysis that the war is going to occur, but actually it didn't occur. That is the conformity biasness. Okay, that is a biasness in your thinking in the simple sense. So in today's context, if you talk about the Palestine Israel, the attack which was done by the Hamas, so there the Israel do face the conformity biasness in the form of Hamas will never going to attack the Israel because Hamas has the good control over the Gaza. Okay, and there are financial aids and other assistance that are getting from the Qatar along with the Palestinians working in Israel. So so the Hamas will be pragmatic, but that was not the scenario. Hamas surprisingly attacked the Israel. So this is also the conformity biasness. Okay, so there is a statement that if you are surrounded by enemy, you have to be alert all the time, and this can also apply with respect to India as well. Like in India, we have the neighbors but surrounded by enemy, so that's why we have to strengthen our intelligence, so that if such type of incident do occur, we should have an advanced information, okay, to prevent the damage that can cause to our civilians. So we can learn from here, we can learn from the failure as well. Okay, so the most serious charge of failure pertains to the weakening of the institutions and the politicization of the intelligence, that is the divide and conquer. Remember what I am trying to say you here. Basically, the current government in Israel under the prime ministership of Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, they have the coalition based political party. Okay, and in the coalition there are parties which are right wing. Okay, they want the complete control of Gaza and West Bank under the control of Israel. Okay, so the prime minister, actually, to sustain their power, they have to be in conformation with these political parties, and that's why in the recent scenario we are seeing the rising incident of increasing the penetration and influence of the Israelis in the West Bank. Okay, and you know that West Bank and Gaza, these are controlled by whom? These are controlled by mostly Palestinians. But you can see the proximity of West Bank. They are basically surrounded by Israelis population. So the army, the Israeli population, they are basically trying to relocate, shift in these locations, okay, where Palestinians are in majority. So that is the point. And this led to basically the intelligence failure, and they were more focused in this region, but they were not focusing on this region, and that caused the issue, and that caused the weakness point, and that led to the culmination of these intelligence failure. Okay, so that is the point. So what was the Hamas objective? Why did they attack despite they know that they have the small share of population, and if they attack then there will be a retaliation? So why? So some of the point that has been raised in the article, maybe they wanted to raise the Palestinian issue at the global level to highlight the Palestinian issue that the world was ignoring. Otherwise they may be able to blockade the peace deal that was going between the Israel and other Arab countries. Okay, maybe the other factors showcasing the intelligence failure of the Israel. Okay, so these all may be the cause, but there is a proper need to understand whatever the objective was. But one thing is clear, that conflicts can be resolved only via negotiations and dialogue. War cannot solve the crisis, war cannot solve the problem. It can create and expand the problem. We have seen in the Russia Ukraine war as well. We have seen in the various histories of the war as well, that all signals these conclusion. But when there is the issue, okay, when there is the problem, the nation do not understand. That's why the war, despite their negative impact, they are continued to be the dominating scene to resolve the conflict, but actually they are more promoting the conflict rather than sorting out the conflict. So that is the point, and that is the end of the article. Now we are shifting to the next article, and this is a very proud moment for India, that India successfully flight tested the TB-D1 mission. And we have discussed this article in the previous lecture as well, but we are going to elaborate more on this. Okay, what will be the significance of these tests? Okay, and in the coming time ISRO is going to do further tests, because finally in 2025 ISRO is going to launch the manned mission. So before 2025 there are numerous tests to be conducted regarding the astronaut, regarding the health of the astronaut, regarding the pressurized system of the crew module, all of that, so that no harm to the astronauts should happen. Okay, and ultimately the humanity should be protected. First of all, that is the priority of any space mission. Okay, so this article will be covered under GS paper 3, and what I am trying to say here, that after this successful crewscape module test, there is increased chances that ISRO is going to launch the first manned mission into the space. Okay, but the success of this demonstration is not limited to the launch of the manned mission in space, but it explores, it opens up the window of ISRO's capability that in the coming future they can even land the manned mission into the moon or other interplanetary mission. That is the point you need to understand. And that's why by 2020, by 2040, as highlighted by our Prime Minister, they had given the target that we should opt for landing the humans into the moon by 2040. So this test and demonstration will be like a helping aid for the futuristic mission. But there is a concern highlighted in this article. One concern is that despite we are achieving milestones and achievements, but for the manned mission or the futuristic mission, the fund is very less. Okay, the fund is very less, and this can basically affect our performance. Okay, so that is the point. And one point also highlighted here, like ISRO is doing their great achievements in a little slow way, but this slowness ultimately helps in winning the race. How? Because they first of all plan the mission. Okay, then they conduct test after test, they boost local manufacturing. Okay, they try to equip the resources and the equipment from the local vendors. Okay, so this all takes time, but ultimately the test after test is done, and based on the success of the test, the decision is taken whether we should launch the mission with confidence or not. And if there is a lack of confidence, then maybe more tests should be carried on. But the point here you need to understand that our first priority is that we should have a confidence from inside that yes, the mission which we are going to launch will be successful. So that is the point which was highlighted in this article. Hope you understood. Now we are shifting to the next article discussion, and the article is also very important, but this has been published not in editorial but in the page section. Okay, so here we will be talking about the Cauvery river water basin. Okay, so here you have to understand a location, that is Kodagu. Kodagu is located in Karnataka, and it is the birthplace of river Cauvery. Okay, river Cauvery flows from here. Okay, and the rainfall which gets received here because of the southwest monsoon, that actually decides that whether the Cauvery water basin will be having the enough water or not in the remaining period when the monsoon will not be present. Okay, so that also decides whether there will be a interstate water dispute battle between the state of Karnataka and the Tamil Nadu or not. Because if there is a sufficient water in the Cauvery, then definitely the interstate water dispute may get reduced. But what happened this year? This year, this district, that is the Kodagu, have a rainfall deficit of 42% during the southwest monsoon, whereas the Karnataka's state average of deficit was 25% only. That means the region which was the birthplace of the Cauvery river, they have the deficit in rainfall, and that will having the reservoir lacking in the proper water, and that will affect the downstream states. Okay, so in the coming time we are seeing that rise in the interstate water dispute. Okay, and there was one important thing which was highlighted in this article, like this Kodagu district, where vast area was under the paddy cultivation. Okay, and why this region and the people here practice the paddy cultivation? It actually because when they saw the paddy, okay, they fill up the water because of the southwest monsoon, and they acted like a lake or the water body, and these waters basically flow in the form of a stream, and they get mixed into the Cauvery river, and that's why the Cauvery river have a high volume of water, and that helps in serving the needs of the lower riparian state as well. But what is the recent incident we are seeing, that the paddy cultivation in this region is declined by about 50%. You can understand, about 50%. That means the water which may get diverted into Cauvery river actually are not getting diverted in that amount, and that can further cause the water crisis. So why farmer are actually not here promoting the paddy cultivation that they were earlier trying to do? So there are many causes which has been highlighted, the farming system is now not remunerative. Okay, basically they faces loans along with disasters. Okay, that is the point. Along with the labor cost is high, so the remunerative gets decreased, and along with minimal conflict, because in the near Kodagu there is a Nagarhole National Park. Where this Nagarhole National Park is located, please try to tell me, and also tell me that what is the main attractive species here. Okay, and along with increased commercialization meaning the farmers are selling their land here, and actually the builders and the constructors, they are purchasing the land to build resorts, to build tourism, to get benefited. Even the political parties members are also showcasing interest here. Okay, so that is the point, and you can understand all of that. And when we talk about the Cauvery water river basics, okay, so basically it is known as Ponni in Tamil, and you can also refer it as Ganga of the south, and it is fourth largest river of the southern India. Okay, and it is a sacred river of the southern India, and it rises on the Brahmagiri hill, Kodagu district of the Western Ghat in the southwestern Karnataka state. Okay, and they descend the Eastern Ghat, and we have the series of falls, and ultimately they drain into the Bay of Bengal. You can see Karnataka, and we have the they are draining into the Bay of Bengal, Tamil Nadu. Okay, and we have the dam over Kaveri, like Krishna Arjun Sagar Dam. Okay, remember this. First of all, it is in Karnataka, and the second is that it is on the Kaveri River. Okay, so if there is a rainfall deficit in the Kaveri, that means the dam will also have the lower water level, and that will affect the agriculture, that will affect the drinking purpose of the population. Okay, so some of the tributaries you should remember, like Arkavati, Hemavati, Lakshman Tirth, Shimsha, Kavani, and Harangi. So you can remember. Now we are shifting to the next article, and that is related to the second Thomas Shoal, which is in South China Sea. So what do you mean by shoal? In simple terms, shoals are atolls basically, and atolls is basically the landform which is submerged below the ocean or the sea. Okay, so these second Thomas Shoal are present in South China Sea, and there is a dispute regarding this shoal between the Philippines and the Beijing. Okay, Beijing basically China, and Manila basically Philippines. So here we will be understanding about the South China dispute. So South China's dispute is basically the sea boundary dispute between the China and other Southeast Asian country. Like we can have Philippines, we can have Brunei, we can have Malaysia, we can have Vietnam. And what does this dispute means? Actually, this is total South China Sea, and in this dispute, the China actually claims almost entire South China Sea into its control. But these Southeast Asian nations basically rely on the United Nations Conventional Laws of Sea, and as per the convention, the Philippines do have a share in the South China Sea, the Brunei do have a share in South China Sea, the Vietnam do have the share, but China does not basically uh, accept the unclause and the provisions in this matter. Okay, so that's why the disputes is going on. And here you have to remember some of the other facts, like the partial Iceland is located here, Scarborough Island is located here, Spratly Island is located here, and the second Thomas Shoal is also located here. And basically these are basically submerged landmass. Okay, and they can be referred as atoll as well. Okay, and tell me the bordering countries surrounded by Vietnam in the comment section. Okay, this can help you in revising. And also tell me what is the straight here that I am highlighting. Okay, this. So now we are shifting to the next article. Basically, the next article discuss some of the important thing here, and we have to understand the data. Okay, and the topic talks about that how the earning grown post pandemic. Here we will be analyzing the earnings before the pandemic start and the after the pandemic. That is the latest data of 2023, and we will be comparing it with the 2019 data. Okay, so we are analyzing because recently the periodic labor force survey of 2022 and 23 was released, and they revealed that there is a strengthening of the labor market. Yani ki the labor participation in the market, in the workforce, is increasing. Unemployment rates are falling, labor force participation rates are rising. But when we talk about the income growth, then there is a variation. Okay, the income growth may be declining in some of the workers, type of workers basically, and in other type of worker they are increasing. So there is a variation, there is a no uniformity, that in all the category of labors, whether it is casual labor, whether it is the regular worker, okay, the share of earnings basically they are following the K shape. That is the point. Okay, what is K shape, we will be trying to understand. So some of the findings, you can see that there has been a rise in the proportion of women working as unpaid family helpers. You are seeing that they are working but not as a paid, but as unpaid family helpers, and these are rising. And you can see that the share of rural working women in this form of employment rising from 37.9% to 43% between this period. Okay, but what does it indicate? The participation are increasing but not the income, not the earning. Okay, and when we talk about the second fact, you can understand here that between 2019 and 23 only casual workers, and whom do you call as casual workers? They are basically works on a day-to-day basis and gets their wages on the daily basis. They are casual workers. Okay, like you employ some like construction workers, okay, for a day, okay, and then you give the wage, and next day you do not recall them. So that is the point. So between 2019 and 23 only casual workers, both women and men across both rural and urban sectors, okay, saw a net increase in their average real monthly earning. Now you have to understand the real wage, okay, or the real monthly earnings. Basically we have the concept of inflation and we have the concept of the GDP growth. So when you will call that the real income is growing, real income will grow if the inflation growth is less as compared to the GDP growth. If GDP growth is 7% and inflation is 8%, that means the value of money, the value of currency is actually declining. Okay, that means you have the real income growth not promoting but declining by 1%. Okay, so that is the point you need to understand. So we have only in the case of casual workers, where whether it is a rural worker or the urban worker, okay, whether it is men or women, we have the net increase in their average real monthly earning. Okay, and when we talk about the third finding, wage workers as a whole have seen real earnings grow slower than their output, indicating that the share of wages is reducing even though the growth is healthy. Okay, the economic growth is healthy, and we have the data, you can analyze the data. Okay, here we have the rural for the urban and it is combined. Okay, and you can say that when we talk about the regular wage workers, you are seeing that real earnings between this period April June 2023 as compared to the April June 2019. Okay, you can see here in case of regular wage workers, the real earning for the rural men actually declined by 0.92%, and in case of women it is increased by 27.51%, and in case of on average we have the increase in 2.95%. Similarly, in case of urban you can read, in case of all average you can read also. Okay, so that is the point. And you can see in case of casual workers, all are indicating the positive. That means in case of casual workers, whether men or women, whether it is the like rural or urban, the real earning has increased. Okay, similarly you can try to decode the data from the table to what they are trying to say, and decoding these type of data will help you to not only solve the prelims question but also will help you to quote important findings from the government review or the report into your mains answer writing. Okay, so that is the point. Now we are shifting to the basic concept of periodic labor force survey, because from here UPSC do ask the question from the prelims. Okay, so what is basically periodic labor force survey? The name as suggests that it is basically periodic review of our labor force in the form of survey. Okay, so it is a survey who conducts it? National Statistical Office. From which ministry does it comes in? Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And what does it measure? Basically the employment and unemployment situation in India. And the NSO launched the PLFS survey in April 2017. So what are the objectives? Please try to remember, because UPSC did ask this question. Basically it tries to estimate the employment and unemployment indicators, like what is the worker population ratio, what is the labor force participation rate, what is the unemployment rate between male, female, urban or the rural. Okay, but here in the short time interval of 3 months for the urban areas only in the current weekly status, and also to estimate employment and unemployment indicators in both usual status and current weekly status in both rural and urban areas annually. Okay, so do not confuse here, try to remember, because this can be the most probable question. Now we are shifting to the last article and then we will be summing up this article. Okay, so basically the Cyclone T, which has started its presence in the Arabian Sea, they now extremely severe cyclone. Okay, but remember that here this is the map of India actually, and this is the Arabian Sea. Okay, so the Cyclone Tej is basically originating in the Arabian Sea, and you know that this is the African territory and we have the Yemen. So these are moving in this direction, northwest direction. So this will not strike India, but this will more or less affect the Kerala. Okay, that's why currently in Kerala we have the rainfall that are going on, and the rainfall is all because of the cyclone development in this region and its effect, and the second because of the northeast monsoon that are retreating, and because of their effect these regions are getting the rainfall as well. So directly the Tej cyclone is not going to affect the Indian landmass in a more intense way, but it will strike the Yemen coast. Okay, the Yemen nation. And which city? Basically the Al Ghaida city. And try to remember the city, it is located in the Yemen. This is a coastal city as well. Okay, and tell me the Socotra island, where it is located and to whom it belongs to. Okay, and when we talk about the cyclone, these are basically low pressure zone that get intensified in the ocean or in the seas because of the high temperature rise in the water of the oceans. Okay, and for that there is a need to have a Coriolis force, so that circulatory motion should be performed, and that's why it is referred as cyclone. And now a next question for you, that whether the direction of cyclone in the northern hemisphere is anti-clockwise or the clockwise, or in the southern hemisphere whether it is clockwise or the anti-clockwise, try to tell me in the comment box. Okay, so that is the end of the article, and now we are trying to discuss about the question that we have asked to you. So actually, when we are talking about the statement that best reflects the chief purpose of the constitution, so remember, when a constitution is basically written or the created, the main purpose is to limit the government, limit the power of the government. Okay, and why to limit? Because when we have mentioned about the president of the parliament of any state legislature, that means we are limiting the power of the government, that how much extent the government can do, what they can do. Okay, for example, when we talk about India, we have the ample of power given to the government by our constitution, but we have a limitations of the power to the government, because then where it comes the Supreme Court, High Court, and other regulatory body, we have the parliament. Okay, and if there is like unwritten constitution, so here the power of parliament becomes more and more. Okay, so that is the point. When we talk about the constitution, it defines and limits the power of government. That's why we have like what a state government can do, okay, what the central government can do. We have the schedules, okay, the subject schedules, like the union list, concurrent list, and all of that. And also we have the separation of power, like between Supreme Court, the parliament, or the executive. Okay, and when we talk about other option, like it secures social justice, social equality, social security, so it can be the probability, but the socialist principle doesn't followed in every constitution. First of all, at the global level, maybe in India we are following the socialistic principle, maybe in the different nation the socialist principle may not be there. Okay, that's why the option D gets rejected. And when we talk about option A, it determines the objective for the making of the necessary law. No, that is not the case, because necessary laws can be made definitely if there is a necessity. Okay, and do you know about the Indian constitution that talks about objective for making the necessary law? No, try to link that. Okay, so that is the end of the article. Hope you understood the detailed discussion we have today. And thank you, friends, for your participation. Please do contribute your response. Try to join our Telegram channel. And for now, thank you. Thank you very much.